Good morning. Last time I was up here was the Sunday of my baptism. My family and I were 2 weeks away from moving to Texas, and I had finally found a profound clarity in my faith, for a 16-year-old at least. Growing up at College Park, I had always felt encouraged to come to my own understanding about who God is and how God works in our world. With a combination of Michael's sermons, youth discussions, and books like The Color Purple and the Lord of the Rings trilogies, I had come to this understanding of God as the creative, loving, divine spirit that builds our universe. To quote Alice Walker, the author of The Color Purple, I felt that God is everything that is, or ever was, or ever will be. And when you find that and are happy to live in it, you have found it. Her understanding of God really resonated with me. I knew the Spirit deeply when I watched the sunrise or felt the love of my friends, and I thought that with it, I'd be ready to tackle any and all challenges presented to me in Texas. However, I was completely unaware of how alone and empty I would feel. I was unprepared for the harsh reality that I was about to embark on one of the hardest years of my life. So for many, the story of Esther is this magical story in the Bible, almost fairy tale-like. Esther is larger than life, beautiful and a powerful queen. She saves her people. She's inspirational. She engages in this phenomenal internal struggle that results in her risking her own life to save thousands of people, her people. It is a terrific story, but Esther is also a story of struggle. It is a story of a girl who cannot fully understand her identity after years of keeping it hidden, of a girl who was put in a foreign place, of a girl who was called to serve her higher purpose in a most arduous way. And the beautiful thing about the book of Esther is that somehow we are all able to relate to a part of her and a part of her story. For me, I've come to appreciate the struggle of Esther's story in light of my move to Texas. I, like Esther, did not want to move or for things to change. And it might sound a bit dramatic, but when I moved, I felt like I had been pulled up from the roots, thrust into a place I did not know, where I had no community, no friends, no grounding. I felt like I did not even know who I was anymore. If you know me, you know this is very atypical for my type A, obsessively organized, and relatively confident personality. After months of overbooking my schedule and attempt to throw dirt over the uprooted flower that had become my life, I kind of lost it. So with 8 months of feeling completely lost, I exploded a little. Luckily for me, I'm an avid poetry reader, as I believe it's one of the many ways to experience the divine. I read Still I Rise, a poem by Maya Angelou. Part of this poem goes, "You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Because I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with certainties of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise." The line "Still I Rise" has stayed with me. At a time in my life where I felt anything but tall, strong, and confident, when I was unsure I would know again the Meghan I knew so well in Greensboro, this poem was a calling and a blessing for me. It was as if the creative, loving Spirit of God was reminding me who I was, stirring in me a desire to once again be alive. In this story of Esther, this would be my Mordecai moment. When Mordecai learns about the planned genocide of the Jews, he tells Esther that it is her duty to save her people. When Esther has lost herself in this new royal life, he is the one who reminds her of her own potential. He says, "Maybe you have come into the royal palace for such a time as this." It is a call to action that forces Esther to truly evaluate who she is, what she stands for, what her role in life is, and how she wants her life to impact the people around her and the people in her community. This is a challenging situation to be placed in. Esther did not have to save her people. She could have left her people to die and continued to live her life in comfort in the palace. Mordecai acted as a force that called Esther to action. I believe that we all have Mordecai moments in our lives. These are moments in which some force, whether it be a person, a job promotion, an unforeseen life change, or even a college acceptance, offer us the opportunity to come into a place where we have the power to change the course of our own lives, as well as the course of countless other lives. For me, reading the Maya Angelou poem seemed to be the mortifying moment I needed at that point in my life. This poem reminded me what I had forgotten, what y'all at College Park instill so well in our youth, that I have a place and a purpose in this world, a place that I can find and own and accept as mine. As a person who has been constantly questioned and doubted by society due to my race, my gender, and my proposed future occupation, this was a really hard thing for me to own. My first year in Texas, I had to spend the entire year trying to prove to my classmates that despite the fact that I was the youngest and the only black girl in the calculus-based physics, I was in fact smart. Even after showing this very cool way to take the cross product of two vectors using a matrix, they still doubted my abilities as a scientist and a mathematician. If they did not see my value, I felt like maybe they were right and I really had no value or place in that world. I think this was hard for Esther to think about as well. She was chosen to be queen purely because of her looks. Who was she to have the strength and courage to stand for her people? Who was she to command the king? Why her? I imagine that at some point Esther must have taken a step back and really reflected on her situation. She was now put in an area of uncharted territory that she might have felt like she did not belong in. And I'm sure she might have felt like she was not ready to take the risk, to have the faith to take the first step when she can't see the whole staircase. But she did. She mustered all of her courage and put her life on the line, believing it would serve her higher purpose. In this moment, she chose to shine her light on the world. This has been one of true countless revolutionaries who have come after her. Women like Harriet Tubman, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Florence Nightingale, Elizabeth Blackwell, Rosa Parks, Billie Holiday, and Malala Yousafzai. For Harriet Tubman, this meant leading slaves to freedom, just as she has been led. For Elizabeth Cady Stanton, that meant advocating for the women's right to vote and for women's rights to equality in an unprecedented way for the 19th century. For Billie Holiday, this was something as simple as sharing her beautiful voice with the world. They all owned who they were and recognized their greater purpose in the world, and they had the courage to take it on. I see these examples of courageous lives in my day-to-day life as well. As my friends and I decided on colleges and majors, I saw each and every one of them own their potential to shine their light and shape the lives around them. Whether this be through teaching, creating public health policies, social working, genetically engineering foods, nursing, or practicing medicine, they all had the courage to make their choice and to take on their life. I have been extremely blessed to be surrounded by these lights in my family as well. And my dad's persistent drive for his success and for the increased success of his children, and my mom's courageous and unconditional love and care for people, and my aunt's consistent and hard battle to reclaim her own happiness and her own life, and my grandparents' never-ending devotion towards improving education, and even the bright potential and strength of my brothers and cousins. For one of my brothers, and almost the other one, I literally have to look up to see this light as if he's a superstar or something, which he is, but initially I said, don't tell him I said that, but he's right there. I see a bright and beautiful future for our world, despite the darkness that it seems to be engulfed in right now. In my life, after my mini explosion, I really struggled to find my purpose. I knew I felt a passion for science and engineering and mathematics, and that with that, I wanted to do biomedical engineering and then pursue my MD, PhD, and be a doctor and a researcher. And it sounded really cool, and I'm really excited about it. However, there seemed to me to be so many opportunities for how to approach this. The uncharted territory in my life seemed to be growing at unprecedented rates, and I was unprepared. A part of my struggle was that I did not believe I was worth any of it. I began to think that MIT messed up and that Stanford was just playing around. "You only got in because you're black," my friend said to me. "You don't want to be an engineer, honey. It's an old boys club." With thoughts like these swirling around in my head, it was incredibly hard for me to own my own gifts and accomplishments. It has taken an extreme amount of courage for me to see and understand my own potential to impact the world, as it does so many people. In fact, I've come to believe that having the courage to love and value oneself, to trust your worth, to own your life, might be one of the most challenging parts. I recently had a moment of beautiful clarity regarding this. I was at MIT, sitting in on the Black graduation ceremony as sponsored by the Black alumni of MIT. After several speakers, the keynote speaker concluded with a Mary Ann Williamson quote, the very quote that hangs up in Lynn's office. Williamson says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us." When the speaker read this quote, I was instantly reminded of hours spent in Lynn's office staring at the quote, trying to understand what it meant to me and how it was going to impact my life. In that moment, I felt like I understood. I was invigorated with strength and courage to own my potential as a change maker and take the jump towards accomplishing this. And I'm so thankful that I'm able to start on this new journey towards owning and shining my own light. I believe that this is God's call to all of us, to find courage to own and shine our individual lights. This beautiful power exists deep within all of us, and it is a gift to ourselves, and it is a gift to the world. To own who we are, to own what we think, and to carry our lights boldly, because there's no one light just like yours. The rest of the quote that hangs up in Lynn's office reads, "Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to shine. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence immediately liberates others. We are called to shine, like Esther, like Maya, like Malala, like Dr. King, like so many who were before us and so many who will come after us. We are called to use our courage and to be a light. So for the world's sake, let's do it."